I'm in a new place. We are still in the process of moving to our new apartment. So excuse like all the boxes and stuff behind me. I have not been motivated to put stuff up. That's basically all of those boxes are books. Books just take a long time to put up, okay? Because you got to figure out the organization system you want to do, and basically books and clothes are the only things that we haven't unpacked yet, and I'm just like, I don't want to do it. But anyway, my background's not the prettiest right now, sorry. But I want to record today's video. I'm actually really excited about today's video because today I'm going to be reacting to my initial reactions to all the Percy Jackson books. I just finished the 5th one. It's back there. If I had a viewfinder, I would like perfectly align my finger to show you. I just finished the last Heroes of Olympus book, and about a year ago, I guess, I was like, I have recordings of myself reacting to all the different Percy Jackson books. And at one point, I like went back and I was just like watching a couple old videos, and there were just some things that I said that were like kind of funny in hindsight, you know, when you know the fate of the characters. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of funny to like rewatch how you initially felt about certain things. So I was like, I could make a video out of this. So I started reading the Percy Jackson series in 2016. And yeah, I think that surprises a lot of people who are my age. It's one of those things that like you say it and everyone's like, what? You've never read Percy Jackson, right? I don't really know why I didn't read them in the first place. I think I was just a really oppositional kid. Like, I didn't want to read Harry Potter because it was popular. It's like a miracle that I read Harry Potter at all. It took several different friends to convince me. And then kind of the same thing with Percy Jackson. I had a lot of friends who were reading it. Even my brother read it. And my brother's not like a big reader. Like, I really enjoyed reading as a kid. My brother not so much, but he read Percy Jackson, and I was like everyone was reading it. Like, everyone. So I was like, this is like even more popular than Harry Potter. And that just made me not want to read it. I don't know. I was an annoying middle school / junior high kid. I recognize that about myself. But yeah, I don't even really know why. I think it was Amber, who, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know Amber. I roomed with her. She's my best friend. We go all the way back to like 5th grade. And I think she was just one of the ones who was always like mentioning it or referencing it, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't know those. And she's like, how have you still not read them? And I started reading them at like age 22 or something. And yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but obviously like I ended up enjoying them enough to like continue on and read Heroes of Olympus and feel passionate enough to do this video. So like, obviously I'm a fan, but there was a bit of a journey, which we will see here in my previous impressions videos. So anyway, the point is, didn't read them when I was a kid because I just didn't want to do what was popular because I was annoying like that. And then I got in high school and I wanted to read them, but I just like didn't have the motivation. I didn't read for fun so much anymore in high school. And then in college, I started reading for fun again, and I was like, okay, fine. And I started reading them, and I've enjoyed them. So basically, since like 2015, I've been recording just videos where I talk about all the books that I read that year. So when I started reading Percy Jackson in 2016, that was included. And I don't know, it's just like a perfect log of my thoughts throughout reading the series. And I don't know, I just think it'll be interesting to kind of go through and see how my impressions have changed over time, what's stayed the same, the kind of moments where you're just like, oh honey, you don't even know, that kind of stuff. By the way, obviously, spoiler alert for all the Percy Jackson books, because I'm going to be, the point of this video is that I'm watching my original impressions through the lens of someone who now has the knowledge of all the characters' arcs. So there's obviously going to be spoilers. All right, so let's get into it with my reaction to the first book. Now, when I read the first book, I had no plan to, do this video, obviously. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little reluctant. Again, like I kind of had this mentality of like, it's not gonna be that good, it's overhyped, I'm not gonna like it. So like I went into it almost wanting to not like it. So actually when I went back through and like found the clip of me talking about the first book, I already know, I've tried not to spoil myself on my past reactions, right? I'm trying not to like refresh my memory in that regard. But this one, well, you'll see why I already know exactly what I say. Let's just see what I have to say about the first book.
Get it? Get it? Okay,
We're not going to talk about how much makeup I wore when I was an
I
undergrad.
didn't read a lot this year. Seriously, this past semester, I tried to start the Percy Jackson series. That book is like 300 pages, and it's at like a 4th grade level or something, and I still haven't finished it. I started it at the beginning of the semester. Like, that's how much I've been doing. But in the spring, I read something.
That's all I said about it, was basically, I tried to start reading Percy Jackson. It's a short, easy book, and I still haven't finished it. And that's all I said about it, which I don't think that was supposed to be a dig. I think that was supposed to be a little bit of a, like, I'm a very slow reader and it's pathetic kind of joke. But I do think that it was also intended to be a slight dig, because I really don't feel like I enjoyed the first book that much. I feel like when I was in junior high, it was kind of like, you like Harry Potter or you like Percy Jackson or Twilight. Those were kind of like the 3 fandoms. So I felt like, I was like, it's going to be pretty similar to Harry Potter, right? Oh, you have like the chosen one. He has a friend who's a guy and a friend who's a girl, and they go on journeys together and like fight evil adults. Like, lightning. There's a lightning. I'm like, that's Harry Potter, right? He's got a lightning scar. Like, I just thought it was going to be really similar to Harry Potter. And I kept that idea all the way until I finally started reading the series. So when I started reading it, I was kind of shocked at how different the writing style and the world was from Harry Potter. And I don't think I liked that at first. Yeah, it was just kind of jarring and, very American, which, like, to me almost felt tacky to have these, like, pop culture references and talk about things like iPods or something. I'm like, what? This is weird. Like, it sounds like maybe it felt a little like trying to pander to kids or something. I'm not sure, like, why, but it kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first. Now, I firmly disagree with that. Like, as I kept reading and, like, got into the world, I really like that now. I feel like it adds a sense of realism. Harry Potter always felt so far off and mystical, which I guess if you're British, maybe not so much, because a lot of those things that Americans think are Harry Potter things, apparently a lot of British schools do have those. But like, if you're an American, that feels very far away and fantastical. So the way the Percy Jackson series is written, it's like, it feels like it really could happen to you if you're an American kid. So I actually really enjoy that. But when I was reading the first book, it was just not what I was expecting. And it caught me off guard. Sometimes the jokes are a little bit cheesy. Even like in this one, there's a couple moments where it's just like the gods, the characters who are like supposed to be the mature adults, although we all know that the gods aren't really mature adults. They're kind of they're a little immature. They'll just say things that are a little bit like, it feels like a TV character. Yeah, or like they'll fall for tricks that seem kind of easy. And when you're first reading that, especially when you're like 21 or 22, however old I was, you're like, oh man, this might be a little too juvenile for me, But it grows on you. It really does. So yeah, that's my reaction to the first book. I didn't like it a ton, but I kept going, and I'm so glad that I did. Okay, book 2.
So after that, I continued reading the Percy Jackson series. I read the second book, which is Sea of Monsters. I have never read Percy Jackson before, so even though I'm like 23, I was like, I'm gonna do it. Again, it was so long ago that I don't really remember a ton about it, but I did like it. I think I liked Lightning Thief more, but I still liked this. Spoiler
Wait, what? I said I liked the Lightning Thief more. That's really interesting, because I remember really liking the Sea of Monsters. Wow, I think part of it is just that, like I said, it was so long ago that I guess I was kind of mixing the plots up, but no, I'm pretty sure that most of, like, when I think of some of my favorite Percy Jackson moments, a lot of them are in Sea of Monsters. I mean, like, Grover being a Cyclops' like wife or whatever, iconic. This is definitely the one where Percy gets turned into like a hamster, right? Like, that's when, like, I think about that moment a lot, because like the hamster scene. Was it a hamster? Anyway, he gets turned into some little rodent, right? And like that's when it hit me that I was like, oh, this is the tone for this series. We're turning into hamsters. And that's when I kind of realized like this series, like it can be serious, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. You know what I mean? Like there are going to be like these funny moments or gods who maybe make really silly decisions or fall for stupid tricks. Like it's just kind of like, that's when I realized kind of the tone of the series. And yeah, like the hamster moment, the Cyclops, like I feel like there are a lot of good moments in Sea of Monsters. That's interesting that I said I liked it less than Lightning Thief. I don't feel like that's true.
Spoiler alert, if you're weird like me and still haven't read Percy Jackson, I don't like that the bulk of it is like just Percy and Annabeth. I really like Grover, so like the fact that he wasn't there very much was kind of a bummer.
Okay, I do remember that. Yeah, I'm a big Grover fan. It's one of the things that actually kind of like bums me out about the Heroes of Olympus is just that we don't get to see Grover very much, and he was my favorite character in the original series. I'm a big, like side character, person who's not in any romantic arcs kind of gal, which is why Leo is my favorite in Heroes of Olympus. So I'm drawn to Grover. I like him. He's funny. I love me a funny dude who likes food, I guess. Like, I clearly have a type for my comfort characters. But yeah, that's true. There was a pretty solid moment with Grover in this book. But yeah, overall, that's a good point, past self. The other thing is, I went into the series like pretty much knowing that Percy and Annabeth end up together, right? Like when you start reading the series in 2016, you just kind of know. So it's not exactly the most exciting thing to read like any sort of banter, will they, won't they stuff between characters when you know the answer is they will. I mean, it's fine, it's still cute, and their relationship really does grow on me. But yeah, I guess at this point, I wasn't super sold on it.
But there were some really cool parts. They referenced like one of my favorite Greek mythology little story fable things. So that was nice.
Yeah, the Cyclops. I love the like Cyclops nobody story. It's one of the only things that I remember learning about like Greek mythology in 7th grade. I remember learning that story and being like, okay, that's hilarious. And it's another example of like how maybe some of the things that happen in these books seem silly and far-fetched, but it's like, if you actually like know the Greek mythology stories, it's kind of like, okay, but the gods really are kind of like that though. Like they're not the smartest all the time, so it's kind of like, yeah, it's an accurate representation, I guess is what I'm saying.
So
the cover, by the way, is
nice.
really good.
But yeah, overall, another good book in the series, and I need to finish reading the series. Unfortunately, this was the only Percy Jackson book I read this year, but I do need to read more.
Yeah, I mean, in case you haven't picked up on it yet, I went through these books pretty slowly. So like, I can't believe I really averaged like one a year at first, but after a while, I started picking up the pace a little bit. Okay, I know it says The Last Olympian, but this year I actually read 3, 4, and started 5. See, I started picking up the pace. So here I am holding up a book which is not actually the book that I'm about to talk about.
So I read Titan's Curse, and I liked it a lot. I definitely liked it more than the second one, but not as much as the fourth one, which I'll talk about in a bit. I think the biggest thing about the third one is that you get a lot of new characters, and I really liked a lot of them. First of all, Zoe Nightshade is a queen.
Yeah, I knew I was going to talk about Zoe.
She kicks butt, she doesn't need no man, and she just, like, leads around a group of kick-butt girls, and they do awesome stuff, and they're immortal because they don't like guys, and I'm like, yes, that's amazing. Love Zoe Nightshade.
Yeah, Zoe is awesome. I mean, pretty much everything that I just said about that. I really like the Hunters of Artemis, the Amazons, like, the girls who just, like, are independent and kick butt, like, that's so awesome. And like, definitely if I had read this when I was a kid, I would totally be like, oh yeah, I would give up guys for immortality. Definitely. Like, now I'm married, so I can't do that. But like, definitely younger me would have been all over that as a concept. That was something that stood out to me as I was reading the 5th one, because I'm a big Nico fan. And Nico obviously like butts heads with the idea of the Hunters of Artemis, or Artemis in general, because, like, she, like, her kind of whole quest thing, like, pretty much resulted in Bianca's death. And I was like, I've never thought of it that way. So, like, two characters that I really, really like aren't exactly fans of each other. Yeah, I mean, I just... Sure, they're very headstrong and maybe don't listen to ideas that oppose their own. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I like the Hunters of Artemis. They kind of kick butt. They're pretty awesome. Okay, let's keep going.
Nico is my son. He's
there you go.
Adorable little child who just
oh my
likes
gosh,
to play with
remember
his
when he
little
was
monster
8?
things. And then at the end, there's a plot twist, and I'm like, whoa! He's just a very determined little child, and I love Nico.
Yes, I remember when it was, like, revealed that Nico was the son of Hades. It was, first off, just amazing, incredible, just, like, he's like an 8-year-old, just, like, bringing skeletons out of the ground, and you're like, jeez. I remember I texted my younger brother, who's a big Percy Jackson fan, and Amber, and both of them, I was like, Nico is the son of Hades? What the heck? Like, it was like, it blew my mind. I just, like, did not see that coming. Now it seems so natural, right? In retrospect, I'm like, yeah, duh, he's a friggin' edgelord. Yeah, also just, like, his whole thing with, like, being in the Lotus Hotel for so long, and, like, I mean, just, like, the freaking trauma. Same with Bianca, just, like, how messed up would you be if you spent, like, you go into a hotel and you wake up and, not wake up, but, like, you come out and it's, like, basically 100 years later. Like, it's just kind of crazy to think about. Like, he and Bianca both have, like, so much interesting stuff going on. Pretty cool.
And then I really like Rachel Elizabeth Dare. Now, I know that she might be controversial, especially if you're a big Annabeth fan, but...
I haven't spent much time in the fandom yet, but, yeah, I just kind of assumed that I know everyone likes Percy and Annabeth. Like, it's a pretty popular ship. So I guess I just assumed that everyone hates Rachel. Like, I don't know what it was like when the books were first coming out. Maybe it was, like, a convincing love triangle. But definitely, again, like, I knew that Percy and Annabeth are going to end up together. So it's kind of like, it felt pointless to have this kind of love triangle thing going on. But I like Rachel's character. I think she's cool.
I just like Rachel. She's cool. She isn't as dramatic and jealous as Annabeth. I mean, look, like, I'm 90% sure that Percy and Annabeth end up together, but I can't help but kind of like Rachel more. I just like, she's more mature. She definitely has some interesting backstory that I don't think you actually learn about until book 4. She's really cool, and she has a different kind of perspective than all the demigods, so I think that's nice.
Yeah, before I keep watching, I just want to explain what I mean by she's not as dramatic as Annabeth. I believe that what I'm referring to is, in this book, it's clear that Annabeth is jealous of Rachel, and in retrospect, I'm more inclined to give Annabeth kind of the benefit of the doubt, right? Because she just doesn't know how to talk about her feelings. That's kind of the whole point of the way that her and Percy's relationship develops, is just she doesn't know how to talk about it, so she's mean to him. And so, of course, when she starts getting jealous of another girl, she's going to have probably not the most appropriate reaction. Like, it makes sense. Like, they're kids. But yeah, I will say I was leaning towards Rachel at this point because she's just more mature. And I also like her whole oracle thing. I think it's really interesting. That's what I was trying to refer to here. I'm always drawn towards characters who, like, can see the future and stuff. Like, I don't know, I think it's a cool concept. It's really interesting because, like, she is mortal, but it's kind of like, okay, but you also have this weird thing about you, and she, you know, gets to hang out with the demigods and all that stuff. Like, yeah, I think it just adds a little, like, diversity in the way people's, like, powers work and stuff, and like I said, she gets, like, kind of a different perspective. Okay, moving on.
And she's just sassy, but not in, like, an annoying way, you know? I don't know. I like Rachel. So, yeah, Titan's Curse, it's pretty much just like any other Percy Jackson book. They're fighting monsters, they're going on quests, all that stuff. To me, this felt a little bit more like a filler book leading up to book 4, where things start getting really dramatic. But some important stuff happens in this book, you know, with Luke and stuff. So, yeah, it's a good one. After that, I read...
Yeah, oh man, Luke. Oh boy. Man, I watched the musical the other day and it kind of reminded me of the first book. Like the plot of the first book. I forgot that like we even started out thinking that Luke could possibly be a good guy. He's just such a bad guy in my mind. But yeah, I totally forgot about like how the first book ends. Like, dang. But yeah, I also had forgotten that like the first series, I think it's kind of like a different quest every book, right? That's kind of nuts. I feel like the Heroes of Olympus, I don't know, it's like more satisfying, I guess, to see it all building up to one quest, one prophecy. But I understand how, like, you know, when you're, you know, starting a new series, like, you don't want to just introduce this, like, here's an arc that's going to last 5 books. Enjoy. But yeah, for me, I really liked that about the Heroes of Olympus series. Okay, book 4.
After that, I read, still not Percy Jackson, The Last Olympian, I read Percy Jackson, Battle of the Labyrinth, which I want to go ahead and say is my favorite Percy Jackson book. The 4th Harry Potter book is my favorite Harry Potter book, too. I guess 4 is a good number for me for some reason. But I love me a good Labyrinth. Part of the reason I liked Goblet of Fire is because of the Labyrinth and Goblet of Fire. I like labyrinths. I like the idea of, like, this creepy psychological place where, you know, you're imagining things that aren't really happening, and it's creepy and it's interesting and I like it a lot. But basically there's an opening to Camp Half-Blood through the labyrinth, and the campers obviously don't want the enemy to invade them through the labyrinth. So they need to go down in there and get this guiding string before the enemy can get it, because otherwise they would be able to find Camp Half-Blood really easily. So yeah, it's just interesting, and Grover's back, and I love me some Grover. He plays a pretty important role in this book. And there is some Percy Annabeth development, but it's not forced, which I like, because they're in a freaking labyrinth. Everyone's forced to be, you know, in confined space and stuff. And yeah,
in general, most of my favorite, like, character development, whether it's romantic relationships or friendships, most of the time when I end up really enjoying, this is a trope that I just really enjoy, is like characters are stuck together and they're forced to bond. I don't remember exactly what I'm talking about here, but I guess I felt like some of their like bickering or relationship development felt forced. Like maybe it was in a situation where tension wasn't very high, so I was like, why are y'all like this? But like, yeah, if you're stuck in a labyrinth, like you're going to maybe be a little more emotional or be more emotionally vulnerable and share, like, open up about yourself. So, yeah, I do kind of vaguely remember this is where I finally started to be like, okay, I can see why people like this ship. It's funny because now I'm like a huge fan of Percy and Annabeth. I think they're super cute. But yeah, it took me a while to come around to them.
Just like the way the relationship develops, but then at the end, Annabeth goes back to being an annoying little jealous person of Rachel, and I did not like that. I don't
know why it's such a problem for me. I mean, I do know why. I'm like really upset about this.
I want to like Annabeth, I do, but she's so immature. I'm like, But, yeah, good book, Battle of the Labyrinth.
Yeah, she grows up. And again, like, it's just kind of like, I feel like I say this in one of the later videos, but like, I finally start to realize that like, she's a kid, and she's acting like a kid, and that's fine. Okay, and then I read the last book. Let's see.
The first book that I read this year was Percy Jackson, The Last Olympian, the last book in the Percy Jackson series. And I really liked this. I mean, obviously, I've liked all the Percy Jackson books so far, so it's hard for me to be, I don't know, disappointed with a series that I've liked coming to a close. Probably no one could have these spoiled for them at this point. I know I'm pretty late to the game, but I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, I really liked it. I mean, like, a lot of things came to a close quite nicely. You find out, like, who ends up with whom. I was happy with the way that they did that, even though I had my moments where I didn't really love the girl that Percy ends up with, but yeah, she's cool by the end. She really matures, and I mean, you have to remember this is a book about teenagers, so they're not going to be mature 100% of the time. This book focuses on the...
I like how I'm trying to be subtle about it, when in the last book I was like, I'm 90% sure Percy ends up with Annabeth. Like, okay. But anyway, yeah. That's another thing that, like, I guess it's a possible critique of the book is I think it was kind of silly that we felt the need to like wait until the end of the series to be like, and now they're together. Like, it's fine. Like, it's just a thing that happens in media in general. You have to wait until like the very end to like get everyone together and have all the loose strings tied up. And, you know, I like when we get to see a couple that is already together, just like being a happy couple, which is why Heroes of Olympus is pretty great. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was cute. Actually, yeah, now that I'm remembering, like, kind of their moment, I don't remember exactly what happens. Don't they, like, kiss underwater or something, like, very Son of Poseidon-y? Are they at the lake? Is that what happens? And then I remember, like, the rest of the camp is like, freaking finally, and I'm like, it's pretty freaking cute. It is a cute trope, right, when two people are, like, so clearly in love, and, like, everyone else around them knows, and they're just, like, in denial. It's a cute trope. So, yeah, I liked that element of the ending. Moving on.
The, you know, last final battle against the Titan Lord, Kronos. So obviously a lot of people, you know, discover really cool powers, find out things about themselves. We find out a lot about Luke, which is, oh my gosh, just feels.
What did we learn about Luke? Like, I remember kind of like, maybe we learned about his motivation for, oh yeah, oh the stuff, is this where we learn about the stuff with his family? Yeah, so I mean, like, Luke has a very tragic home life, and that's one thing that, like, is really good about these books in general, is like, they'll take characters who are the bad guy, or they're seen as, you know, mean or evil, depending on the situation, and, you know, a lot of the time you end up getting to see why they are the way that they are. And I don't know, I mean, like, obviously every character in this series has some kind of, like, crappy stuff going on in their life. I mean, there's no one in the series, you know, because of the way the series works, there's no one who has, you know, just, like, the model family, or, you know, like, everyone's got some stuff going on. But I don't know, it's nice to see that, like, all the characters are treated pretty complexly, with some exceptions. It makes you think about how, like, different people respond to things in different ways. Yeah, the stuff about Luke, like, broke my heart, and I had completely forgotten about that. Wow.
Throughout the book, there's a spy who's kind of, like, relaying their information to the bad guys. That's what a spy does. And I figured out who it was, like, super quickly. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe I'm just a little too smart. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I figured out who it was super quickly, and I have a love-hate relationship with when I do that in books. I mean, I like it because it makes me feel very smart, but at the same time, it does take away some of the anticipation and confusion and stuff. So the fact that I figured it out was kind of a bummer, but at the same time, I was like, aha, I knew it was you.
Who was the spy? I don't remember. It was Selena. That's what I thought. I can't remember exactly, like, how I knew that she was a spy, but I guess I figured it out, which is funny because I like Selena. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember it was, like, really sad to me when Selena died, and Clarice just, like, has an emotional moment that we would not normally see from Clarice, you know? Yeah, wow. That was a good one. And that's a good example of how, like, even sometimes the side characters are decently fleshed out in this series. Like, yeah, very solid character work in the Percy Jackson series. Okay, moving on.
But yeah, that was my only real beef with this book. And I mean, there's a lot of action in this book, and I'm not normally a big action person. Sometimes I get kind of bored by that stuff. But I think because I was so invested in the characters by this point in the story, I was really into it. I thought it was a really good way to wrap up the series. The fourth book's always going to have a special place in my heart, but the fifth one's really good too.
Yep, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, kind of similar to... You'll see kind of similar to how I felt about the end of Heroes of Olympus. I'm not a big action person, but, like, because of the solid character work, I'm invested, and I, like, don't want anyone that I care about to die. So, like, I'm obviously gonna, I don't know, I'm just, like, more interested in the action scenes than I typically would be. Okay, so that was my reactions to the first 5 books. I really enjoyed it. I really do remember not liking it so much at the beginning, and it just slowly growing on me. And it looks like it really picked up around book 3 because I read basically 3 books in 1 year. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun series, even if you read it as an adult. You know, I said when I rewatched Sweet Life, which there's a video about that up here, you kind of just have to view it as like, it's not a show for kids, it's a show about being a kid. Kind of the same thing here. It's like, it's a series about kids, not necessarily a series for kids. I mean, it is for kids, but like, you can enjoy it as an adult. You can enjoy kind of the campy jokes or the silly ways that characters who are supposed to be mature sometimes act. As you keep reading, the characters get like really fleshed out and their relationships get more fleshed out. And especially, I mean, if you like the Percy Jackson series and haven't read Heroes of Olympus yet, like definitely also read Heroes of Olympus because you get even more material and you get to know the characters even better, and it's great. But this video is getting pretty long, so I'm going to end this section of the video here, and if you want to watch my reactions to the Heroes of Olympus series, you can watch that video, which I'll link it up in the eye. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments like what your experience with the series is. Did you like it at first, or are you like me and you like weren't a huge fan but you grew to love it? If you're watching this video, I assume that you like the series to some degree, but you know, let me know what your experience with all this is. And other than that, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I put videos out every other Friday about music, media, linguistics, and whatever else is on my mind that week. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.